focus was the transformation. I wanted to know, I want to understand. And so let's go back to this obstacle. So let's go back to the mind. I think it's important that you separate. This comes from one of my coaches when I talked about thousands of hours that I've already invested, right? So I'm taking what's been given to me to give to you. In a lot of cases, I paid for it, right? Paid for it in life experience and literally paid for it. And one of my coaches said to me that it's important to separate, to understand there's a difference between an objective experience and a subjective experience. A subjective is you're the subject. An object sits out there. I'm not the chair. That's an object. But if I'm not careful, I might say to you, I am sad, or I am angry, or I am upset, and that's a lie. It's not true. What do you mean it's not true? When you're experiencing something, you can't be, here it is, I'm starting to give you a lot, you can't be what's temporary. You can't be, if it is who you are, then it's 24/7. You can't be something that's temporary. And one of the biggest mistakes we made, and I've made it throughout my life, and it's so human, it's so easy to do, is I've identified with the clouds rather than the sky. You are not the clouds, you're the sky. And when you start to separate that, so when I say we identify, first it's important, if we're going to hit the target, we need to identify the primary enemy. And the enemy is our mind and how it thinks. Our primary enemy is how it thinks. Now, here's the interesting thing. You can work on that software. There's hardware. You came from the factory. The mind's going to do what it's going to do. You're going to have fight, flight, freeze. You can do all that. But the software is how you think. My first book is titled, Don't Believe Everything You Think. Now, it's interesting because that really hits home. Most people would agree you can't believe everything you read. Especially nowadays, right? Most people would agree you can't believe everything you read. Oh yeah, I can't believe everything you read. Everybody agrees you can't believe everything you hear. Again, especially nowadays, right? As the media is trying to vie for attention by going to the extremes. So we agree with that. We can't believe everything we read. We can't believe everything we hear. How about we can't believe everything we see? Now that's a little more challenging, but think of optical illusions. Right? You saw the old lady, but it's really a young person. The vase. There's a lot of, just Google optical illusions to be humble a bit. In fact, it's those very same illusions that magicians use, right? And we're just like, wow. But they understand human nature, and they can manipulate light, and so forth. It's really fascinating. But here's the point. If you can't believe everything you read, hear, and see, where does your thinking come from? Where does your thinking come from?
We've been told.
What you've heard, what you've been told, what you've heard, what you've seen, what you've read. And if you can't believe everything you read, hear, and see, you can't believe everything you think. And so if you're to have your best year ever, it helps to recognize that, to have humility. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the know-it-all rarely learns at all. And one of the reasons children enjoy their lives so abundantly, it's just they bound out of bed in the morning. They don't want to go to bed at night. And this has been almost like a daily thought of mine. Why is that life experience reserved to my childhood? Why can't I live that way now? And it really hit me about 3 years ago. I'm 56 years old. It hit me about 3 years ago. I don't know. Maybe that was my midlife crisis, But why, God? Why are they having all the fun? And why are we feeling weighed down by responsibilities and the grind and all that? Well, one of the places I think is that we've lost our curiosity, we've lost our adventure, and then I ask the question, why? Because the brain is afraid of mistakes. The brain is afraid of mistakes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is perfect. This is timing. This is good timing. Because see, here's the thing. I'm human too. I struggle too. I suffer too. I get worried and anxious and so forth. 2019, I can say right now, may be the most significant year of my life, both personally and professionally. I've got 3 more this week speeches. I'll speak in 40 cities. I climbed 1,400 feet of rock face in Red Rocks Canyon. I just started climbing 3 years ago. I just started climbing 3 years ago. We went 1,400 feet. He says, whew, I mean, that's a day you remember. I mean, you're there. You're present. Because if you're not, you won't be present. You know? I went to Hawaii when I had a speaking gig, and took my oldest son to Hawaii, and went to Southeast Asia with my wife. She was turning 50. She wanted to go, and so I was like, let's go. We all went. Went to Thailand and Laos, and went down the Mekong River, which my father-in-law patrolled 4 tours in Nam, Purple Heart. It's insane going down that river, knowing that in the jungle you could be, being shot at, I went into the Hanoi Hilton. We went to Hanoi, Vietnam. And just last month I went to Jerusalem. I went to Israel. I mean, a crazy year. And on top of all that, we were awarded Wholesaler of the Year. My relationships are deeper than they've ever been. The people I get to work with, it's such a privilege. Just an unbelievable year. And all of this just in time to completely blow up my budget and to really upset my boss. Because that's saying, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to... Okay, no, it's not. Actually, you're out of money. You spent more than you're supposed to. I mean, I literally had to go with my tail between my legs to compliance. I had planned a party. We're not allowed to have parties. I think, what? I thought we were going to have a party. So I'm laying in bed this morning thinking about this, and I want to give this to you. This came to me this morning, and again, it comes from... I'm not saying it's coming from me. It's coming from the authors. And here's the interesting thing. Louis Pasteur said, fortune favors the prepared mind. Fortune favors the prepared mind. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing has prepared my mind more for fortune than asking why questions. In the ancient text, it's written, seek and you will find. Ask and it will be given to you. Now, they left out how long you have to wait for the answers. Right? I mean, I just say, I knocked and the door didn't open. What's up? Well, maybe you got to keep knocking for 20 years, for 30 years. Maybe you got to keep seeking. And I would say some of the most significant revelations have come through just the constant why over time. And I'm telling you, this willingness to just wait, which the mind hates, by the way. The mind prefers a conclusion. It prefers the illusion of control, and so it jumps to conclusions. And whether they're true or not doesn't matter to the mind, because the mind feels in control. You ever meet somebody, the less they know, the more they BS? You ever notice that?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with someone like that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but here's the point. We all do it on some level. We all do. No matter how educated we are, there's still the unknown. And noticing how much we jump to conclusions about that unknown is very important, because the know-it-all rarely learns it all. But when you can admit you don't know, you have tremendous opportunity to grow. So we all want to go to the next level, personally and professionally. We know the primary enemy is our own mind. And so now the question is, what are the tools to get beyond ourselves? What are the tools to get beyond this mind of ours? And what's fascinating is that our own thoughts, they hold the key to all of our possibilities, and at the same time they can limit them from manifesting. And this is why I think it's so important what Socrates said. Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Now, as I laid in bed this morning, really examining the mistakes I've made with my budget recently. This is, by the way, this is just for this audience, okay? This is exactly where I am. Let's break down the word mistake.
I'm pretty close to you, buddy.
Okay. So let's break down. Okay, so this came to me this morning, and it was like, wow, and it was just really cool for me. One of my favorite lines is, adversity doesn't make us, it reveals us. Adversity doesn't make us, it reveals us. And I just found out recently that was Epictetus. I'm pretty certain it's Epictetus, one of the founder of Stoicism. We'll talk a little bit about that. Adversity doesn't make us, it reveals us. And what was really cool is I was really I was seeking the benefit of my mistake. I was wanting to know how the mistake had served me. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you want to live an abundant life that's almost limitless in its potential, it's all in the attitude. The attitude changes the altitude. Lee was just sharing with me, we were talking about, oh, it's another year, and man, we started zero all over again, and he literally shared the story that when the first few years as a wholesaler, how frustrating it was. They cut my comp, and they decreased my decreased my territory, they increased my goals, they cut my comp, and he would get all fired up. And if you know Lee, he likes to get fired up, and I do too. I think this is where we connect. And then he goes, after a few years, you realize. And I said, Lee, notice that the environment didn't change, you changed. There's an old Buddhist koan. I love this one. I'll give this to you. You know what a koan is? It's a question that's incredibly hard to answer. And the reason it's designed to be hard to answer, to force you to be conscious, to force you to think. We mostly run on unconscious minds. Research shows that we have 55,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of them are a repeat from yesterday. I think that's what Socrates is talking about here. Because if you're running on habit, here's a quote from Wordsworth. And these are touchstones. What I'm giving you are touchstones. I think about these almost every day. These are the quotes I think about almost every day. And I would say when you come across some wisdom that impacts your life, think about it almost every day. No book is going to change your life. But reading it, and praying it into your soul and thinking about it on a regular basis, that's transformation. You come across something that really hits you hard, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. The unexamined life is not worth living. Why? Well, again, if you're thinking about that, remember Louis Pasteur said, fortune favors the prepared mind. Now, I'm not talking about just financial fortune. I'm talking fortune of insight, fortune of understanding. And all of a sudden, quotes start to connect. It's like, wait a minute. Jung said that, and wait, Epictetus said that, and wow, you start to see the connections. And one that stood out for me was William Wordsworth. That ties directly to Socrates. Wordsworth said, habits rule the unreflecting herd. Habits rule the unreflecting herd. What is Socrates saying here? That if you're not examining your life, if you're not reflecting, frankly, you're not living your life. Your habits are living your life. Who wants to give their life over to their habits? Now, I'm not talking about the habits that serve you. The habits that got you up this morning, and got you plowing the snow, and all those, and taking a shower, and brushing your teeth, and right, by the way, it's very powerful to get those into habits. So you're not thinking about them. If you thought about every tooth you brush, it'd take you forever to brush your teeth. You understand? See what I'm getting at? In fact, if you want to do a little exercise, whatever hand you use to brush your teeth, tomorrow morning use the other hand. See how long and laborious and how inefficient that is, right? So I'm not saying habits don't serve you. I'm talking about the habits that limit you. What you've been told. That's not true. Nothing limits our lives more than thoughts we believe that are not true. And frankly, it is incredibly difficult to let go something you thought was true to let in something new. Especially if you're subjectively attached to all your thoughts. I am my thoughts. I am angry. I am sad. No, you're not. You are experiencing anger. That works great with the spouse. I'm not angry. I'm just experiencing anger. Try it out. It's true. Because if I am angry, I'd be angry 24/7. I'm not. It's a cloud. I'm sorry you don't like the clouds. I'm sorry you're getting rained on right now. But this too shall pass.